Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're continuing our journey through MPP Chapter 1300, focusing on allowance and issue. Today, we're tackling a really specific but critical section, MPP Section 1308, Withdrawal from Issue. It's kind of like the emergency brake for a patent application. Imagine this. Your application's allowed, ready to become a patent, and then, oops, a major problem surfaces. What do you do?
That's exactly what Section 1308 is for. It's the formal mechanism to halt an allowed application right before it issues as a patent. 37 CFR 1.314 basically says, once you pay that issue fee, the patent will issue. Unless the application is withdrawn under Section 1.313 or the office decides to defer it. So withdrawal is that crucial unless. And a key point right off the bat. Withdrawal isn't just one thing. It can be started by the applicant. Maybe they found some killer prior art late in the game, or it can be initiated by the USPTO itself.
Okay, let's dig into the applicant side first.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like the process really changes depending on one big factor, whether the issue fee has been paid, what are the options before paying.
Right. Before you pay the issue fee, you've got, significantly more breathing room. There are basically two main routes. You can file a petition under 37 CFR 1.313A. That's the standard pre-fee petition.
Okay.
Or you can file a request for continued examination, an RCE.
And talk us through the difference there. If both stop the issuance, why pick one over the other? Is it strategic?
Oh, definitely strategic. Filing an RCE is like hitting reset on the examination. It automatically pulls the application out of the issue queue because, you're asking for more examination. Prosecution reopens.
So you'd use an RCE if you need to actually change something substantive, amend claims, argue against new art.
Exactly. That's the go-to if you need to get back in front of the examiner for substantive reasons. The 1.313A petition, the pre-fee one, is generally more administrative. Maybe you need to sort out fee issues or finalize some paperwork, but it doesn't automatically restart the whole examination process.
And who handles that petition? Not the examiner.
Usually not. Those pre-fee petitions typically go to the Office of Petitions, or OPLA, the Office of Patent Legal Administration. They're focused on, making sure the procedure is followed correctly, not the technical merits.
All right, now for the really tense part. What happens if you need to withdraw, but you've already submitted that issue fee? It sounds like the options narrow considerably.
Considerably is putting it mildly. Once that fee is paid, the easy ways out are, gone. You must file a petition under a different rule, 37 CFR 1.313C. And this isn't just for any reason. It's reserved for very specific, serious situations.
Okay, what qualifies as serious enough after paying the fee?
MPP Section 1308 lists them out pretty clearly. We're talking things like a mistake made by the office or a violation of the duty of disclosure, like someone knowingly withheld important information.
A Rule 56 issue.
Right. Or, critically, the discovery that one or more claims are actually unpatentable. Or, if the application needs to be pulled into an interference or derivation proceeding, it has to be something fundamental affecting the validity or ownership.
Let's zoom in on that unpatentable claims reason. This feels like the most common scenario an applicant might face post-fee. It's not just, I changed my mind, right?
Absolutely not. This is about a real legal problem. Imagine you've paid the fee, you're waiting for the patent number, and then bam, you find a reference, maybe a foreign publication, that just destroys your main claim.
Nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. If you want to stop issuance using a 1.313C petition based on that, you have to be blunt. The petition needs an unequivocal statement saying, yes, this claim or these claims are unpatentable. No hedging.
Wow, unequivocal. And presumably you'd also file something to fix it.
Usually, yes. You'd likely file an amendment to cancel or fix the bad claims to put the application back in condition for allowance, assuming you can.
Okay, but what if the new art isn't that bad? What if you find something you need to disclose, but you still think the claims are okay? You've paid the fee. Now what?
That's where another tool comes in, potentially. If the fee is paid, and you just need to submit an IDS, an information disclosure statement, and you still believe the claims are patentable over it, you might use the QPID program.
QPADs, Quick Path Information Disclosure Statement.
That's the one. It's designed for this exact post-allowance, post-fee situation. It lets you get the IDS considered by the examiner without formally withdrawing and reopening prosecution. If the examiner agrees, the claims are still allowable over the new art.
So it's faster, less disruptive, but carries a risk the examiner might disagree and force a reopening anyway.
Precisely. If the examiner looks at that QPID submission and says, uh-oh, this new reference actually does render Claim 1 unpatentable, then you're likely back to needing that formal 1.313C withdrawal petition.
This really underscores the time pressure involved. You're not just racing against the patent issuance date, but also potentially the publication date, right? Under 35 U.S.C. 122B.
Timing is absolutely everything. The petition has to be granted before the patent issues. And the office is very clear about the publication risk, too. If you're filing something late, say, a petition for express abandonment tied to withdrawal, and your publication date is looming like less than 3 months away.
You need to move fast.
You need to move very fast. The MPS strongly recommends using the USPTO's electronic filing system, like Patent Center or maybe fax.
Why the big push for electronic or fax over, say, mailing it in?
Because those methods get the document into the system and flagged for urgent attention much faster. Think about it. If the application is already queued up for printing or publication, pulling it back requires quick intervention by specific divisions. Mail just adds delay you can't afford.
So speed and direct routing are key. Electronic or fax are definitely the preferred roads to maximize the chances of catching it in time.
Absolutely. You want to bypass any potential mailroom delays or internal routing lag.
Okay, let's switch gears. We've talked about the applicant trying to stop the train. What about when the USPTO itself decides to hit the brakes? When does the director step in to withdraw an application?
Right, the director does have the authority to withdraw an application from issue even after the fee is paid. But, like the applicant's post-fee petition, this power is used sparingly and under specific conditions.
Which conditions?
It boils down to the director determining that the applicant is simply no longer entitled to a patent under the law, specifically 35 U.S.C. 151. This could be for various reasons. Sometimes it's procedural, like realizing a national stage application didn't meet all the requirements under 35 U.S.C. 371C. But more substantively, it happens if the office discovers unpatentable claims after allowance but before issuance, maybe during an internal review.
So if they catch an error internally.
Exactly. If the office realizes, wait, Claim 5 is clearly anticipated by this reference we missed, they have a duty not to issue that patent. They will withdraw it.
But the MPP is also careful to say what doesn't count as a good reason for the office to withdraw, right? To protect applicants from unnecessary delays.
Yes, that's important. The office won't withdraw an application just, say, to give an examiner more time to look at a late-filed IDS if there's no actual question of unpatentability raised, or just to make it easier for the applicant to file a continuation.
So convenience isn't enough.
No. There has to be a substantive reason related to patentability or a significant procedural defect that undermines the allowance itself. It needs to be a real issue, not just tidying up loose ends.
That makes sense. It preserves the integrity of the allowance, unless there's a serious flaw. And this internal check links nicely to the related subsections in Section 1308. Let's touch on Section 1308.01, rejection after allowance.
Right. This section really shows withdrawal in action. Let's say an examiner, maybe after seeing that late IDS submitted via QPIDs, realizes, okay, I was wrong. This does reject Claim 1. They can't just issue a rejection.
What's the process?
First, the examiner needs approval from their supervisor, the primary examiner. But crucially, before the examiner can actually issue that new office action rejecting the previously allowed claim, the technical center director has to formally withdraw the application from issue.
So withdrawal is the mandatory first step before prosecution can be reopened post-allowance by the office.
It is. The TC director's action is what officially pulls it back from the brink of issuance and puts it back into examination status.
Got it. And then there's Section 1308.02 dealing with interference or derivation proceedings.
Yes. That section confirms that an application can be withdrawn specifically to deal with disputes over inventorship or priority. It points you towards Chapter 2300 for the nitty-gritty details. But the idea is that these proceedings, interference or derivation, should ideally only happen after all other examination issues are resolved. So withdrawal here is usually for applications that are otherwise completely ready to go, except for this fundamental fight over who invented it first.
And finally, Section 1308.03 touches on something called quality review. This sounds like the USPTO checking its own work.
It is exactly that. It's a vital internal check. The Office of Patent Quality Assurance, or OPQA, randomly samples allowed applications before they issue for a quality review.
Like an internal audit.
Sort of, yeah. And if during that review, the OPQA team finds an error specifically, if they determine the allowed claim is actually unpatentable based on the record, they flag it.
And what happens then?
Prosecution gets reopened. And as we've established, the prerequisite for that is that the application must be formally withdrawn from issue. It's another layer ensuring potentially invalid patents don't slip through.
So looking at the whole picture, withdrawal isn't just a panic button for applicants. It's a fundamental tool the USPTO uses to ensure the quality and legal soundness of the patents it grants.
Absolutely. It underpins the integrity of the whole system right up to the very end. The main takeaway for anyone dealing with this: speed and clarity are paramount. If you realize there's a problem post-allowance, you need to act fast.
File that RCE before pulling the fee if possible, or get that petition drafted correctly and submitted quickly if the fee is paid.
Exactly. The longer you wait, the harder it gets and the higher the risk of unwanted issuance or publication.
But there was a small bit of good news if an application is withdrawn and then fixed, right? Regarding the issue fee.
Yes, that's a practical point. If an application is withdrawn, maybe you filed an RCE, amended the claims, got it allowed again. MPEP Section 1306 generally allows you to apply that previously paid issue fee to the new allowance.
So you don't necessarily have to pay it twice.
Correct. You don't lose that money just because it was withdrawn and reallowed, which is fair.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
So wrapping up, Section 1308 is complex, definitely high stakes, and timing is absolutely critical.
Yeah.
But it also shows how seriously the office takes getting the patent grant right, even if it means pulling things back at the last minute.
It adds robustness to the process, even if it creates some stressful moments for applicants.
We would like to extend a special thank you to Mike Shepard, the creative director who organized this entire audio series. Disclaimer: this summary of the MPEP was generated using AI tools, including ChatGPT and NotebookLM, and may contain errors or omissions. It is provided for general, educational, and informational purposes only. It is not legal advice or a substitute for formal instruction. For authoritative guidance, consult the official MPEP, a qualified instructor, or a registered patent practitioner.